Chemtrails, contrails, artificial ice nucleation, cloud seeding, geoengineering, weather modification, sun blocking. What's true? What's not true? What's real? What's not real? So many different terms, so many different explanations. Well, all of them are true. Every single one of these is very true. Geoengineering and chemtrails are very true. All anyone has to do is just put their phone down, the fake dopamine, look up in the sky in the middle of a morning, middle of a day, early evenings, and see these massive, long, thick gases that are being released in the form of a trail. Chemtrail, not contrail, chemtrail. There's a significant difference between a chemtrail and a contrail. They're two completely different things. It's like the opposite. Nothing to do with one another. One harms us, of course, tremendously, and the other one doesn't. Chemtrails are happening every day. Geoengineering is happening every single day. Cloud seeding is happening daily. It's extremely dangerous. It's extremely toxic. This kind of weather modification, it truly goes back to the Vietnam War, actually even before, to World War II. In the Vietnam, it was called Operation Popeye. There are actual congressional hearings all around the United States, not so much in Canada, but in the United States, yes, by geoengineering experts, AK experts, by politicians, doctors, pilots, WikiLeaks, former staff, civilian staff of airports who've actually witnessed the planes with tanks being dragged into the planes. And they're talking about the dangers of geoengineering. Yes, of course. I mean, even birds are falling from the sky. We all know that that's not just happening because they crashed into one another. Tens of thousands of birds have been falling out of the sky over and over. So this foolishness of pretending that chemtrails are not real, geoengineering is not real, seriously needs to stop. It's nonsense. Let's stop pretending dumb. These long, white, thick chemtrails, they're not contrails. They're done because of the geoengineering aspect. They're poisoning the sky. They're seeding the sky. NASA has documents about weather programs going back to 1957 or 8, so 60s really, where multiple universities across the United States and Department of Energy were also involved in these weather modification studies. This is a hot topic to the United States. I mean, people need to immediately abandon their primitive opinions and preconceptions that none of the geoengineering is ever real. These white lines are just regular plain contrails. I mean, come on, let's stop the madness. It has nothing to do with contrails. Now I'm going to explain the difference, of course. People need to do more research to uncover the truth hidden in plain sight, right here in the sky, above our heads, and face the reality of toxic chemtrails and geoengineering. It's a serious threat. Publicly available military document, which has been released, called Owning the Weather by 2025. I think it would be a pretty good start for anyone to do that research. A simple Google search will do. Aside from that document, chemtrails along with geoengineering is, I think, the single most biggest threat to humanity aside from nuclear war. But it is a very serious problem, not only for us, but it's the greatest climate disturbing factor of all time. It's destroying our climate. That's the real problem. It's not people driving SUVs. Artificial ice nucleation, another problem. So that means randomly snowing in complete odd and weird and unforeseen and unexpected temperatures where it doesn't normally snow. Is that a coincidence? Nope. Or snow being set on fire. How many videos are out there on the internet? Snow being set on fire. Why is that? Too cold? It's fake snow. Has nothing to do with God creating that snow, the universe, Allah, Buddha, nothing. It's fake snow, it's artificial. So just to be clear in relation to contrails and chemtrails, contrails, C-O-N, contrails, are perfectly normal. They're harmless, they're fine. We see them all the time. We see them in the sky, high altitudes generally. We see them, short little trail, vapor is visible behind the plane as the plane passes or goes forward because the condensation freezes. So this contrail itself disappears very, very fast, almost instantly, several seconds later, and it gets absorbed by the atmosphere. So it just dissolves. And there's always a tiny little gap between the contrail, the beginning of the contrail, and the plane itself, as it takes a few seconds for this hot material to freeze. Then this trail goes on for no more than a kilometer or so, maybe even less, as it disappears shortly after being created. Because the contrails are composed mainly of water in the form of ice crystals, so very harmless. Chemtrails, completely different things. Chemtrails are horrible, extremely dangerous, very toxic. They're entirely different than a contrail because chemtrails are seen in much lower altitudes, first of all. And these trails do not disappear. They stay. They actually stay and widen and expand, and then they drip. That's why every certain amount of feet or meters, there's always a little pointer down that they're dripping. They just do not disappear. They expand and become even bigger, thicker, wider. Well, why is that? Because they're blocking the sun. They're blocking the sky. Artificial clouds. So this trail that expands stays for an entire day fully expanded. Chemtrails do not even come out of standard plane engines. Chemtrails, gases, have nothing to do with engines. Turbojet, turboprop, turbofan engines, yeah, 3 major engines, nope, nothing to do with them. GE General Electric engines, nope. Rolls-Royce, no, not even that. Pratt & Whitney engines, no, none whatsoever. Chemtrails toxic chemicals come out of specially created conduit pipes, conduit type of exhausts that are placed in the side of the plane and in the wings in the rear area. And these tanks are connected internally. There's no passengers inside these planes. These are all commercial unmarked planes. And these chemicals mainly are aluminum, barium, strontium, always. Aluminum is it's horrible for our body. And they are placed and sprayed in very high levels and high concentrations. And I mean, these three combined together, they're very deadly and poisonous. And inside of these toxic mixes of very viral toxic agents. And yes, it's been proven and tested and analyzed that it's been published also that this isn't just some rumor. This isn't about just some conspiracy theory. I mean, we got to look at the origin of the word conspiracy theory to understand what's theory and what's not. But the E. coli and tuberculosis were found in the fallings of these chemtrails. Those two have been tested. That's just to name the two. Chemtrails, the planes themselves are not little Cessnas. They're not little tiny little private planes. No, these are unmarked commercial planes. Heavy metals are being sprayed into these skies by these psychopaths. They're creating artificial clouds really for the purpose of modification, sun blocking. Or in other words, really, geoengineering or cloud seeding, probably the two most common terms used. Internet's full of them. They hide the chemtrail part, but they leave the geoengineering part. Like that's some secret. And when these chemicals are sprayed out, including barium, strontium, aluminum, a lot of aluminum, these toxic chemicals expand then, and when they do, they block the sun completely, so they seed it. It's disgusting. It's just completely sickening to believe that our governments do this to us. It also creates blockages or blockage to our rainfall. So it alters the jet stream, and it works with the conjunction of the electromagnetic frequencies and also radio frequencies. It changes the entire state of atmosphere into something that's very conductive. That's a problem. Plasma state can be manipulated at any time, so they're doing everything artificially. The universe doesn't create chemtrails, but the chemtrails sure destroy the ozone layer. They destroy us, our health. They're destroying climate apart like piece by piece, day by day. It's not big SUVs being driven on highways. That propaganda nonsense comes from Europe. This danger, this toxicity, this poison, everywhere it lands, it destroys. There's so much aluminum in these skies these days, in these chemtrails, and eventually this all lands down on us, our hair, our skin, our gardens, our grass, our pets, nature, creeks and rivers and oceans. And it gets absorbed and it enters our body immediately. So this toxic aluminum effect, it almost affects the neurological development. And it does it at another slow pace, but it does. Creates neurological inflammation, problems for our brain. Respiratory system, cognitive functions. These are all serious problems. These toxic materials are bioaccumulative. They infiltrate. They storm our system easily, very easily. And the system can't do anything about it and destroys us from the within, from the inside. That's why we're all sick. We're breathing this junk in every day. So in this toxic group of metals, this mix of aluminum, barium, strontium, when they are mixed, what happens is we see synergistic toxicity. It's a big term, but it's pretty much we see a recipe for a disaster, slow death, destruction of our health, our children, our pets, our nature, our beautiful nature, the rivers and creeks, the ozone layer itself. It is so destructive that everyone is not paying attention to it, but we sure are out there on the road fighting with one another who's wearing a mask and who's not. Chemtrails or chemtrail spraying, the sky spraying, has become extremely sophisticated as they have perfected vorticity. These planes can literally mid-flight change tanks or release one tank as the other tank ran out. So the color of the chemtrail changes between the white to gray or white to off-white, light gray, also even light blue, light pink. I've got video of it, tons, because I live in a rural area next to the airport, very close to the airport. Hundreds of millions of tons of aluminum and barium and strontium sprayed daily around the world in our skies. And it's executed by regular size commercial jets or airlines or airplanes. They don't have any passengers in them, but they're parked in the corner of that airport there somewhere. Another phenomenal website, geoengineeringwatch.org. Excellent website to tell anybody really clearly what's happening with geoengineering. Why in the world are they spraying us is a film, a great documentary film. Also to tell anybody of any age what's happening with geoengineering. So we need to see these facts on geoengineering, not just Google it. It's all hidden and compressed, and we won't be able to get any kind of information on the internet. All around the world this is happening. But also geoengineering is used in wars, Olympic opening and closing ceremonies, such as the one in China. It's openly used to really control the commodities, and those guys that know trading in commodities will know that. Commodities market, yes. And they are used as warfare by the military. So militarily speaking, it's extremely beneficial for anyone to have advantage of any kind of weather modification programs, or have at least part of these programs, investments in these programs, to send massive amount of storms if really needed, or hurricanes or floods towards the enemy's lines. So that's why we see so many staged, completely artificial snowstorms, weather problems that we see across the United States. It's all created. These weather modification programs, these operations that go back to World War II, even Vietnam War. In the Ho Chi Minh Trail region, there was one called Operation Popeye, where the United States flooded out the Vietnamese army. They completely collapsed them. And they're happening everywhere. So individuals that are following these things will know a lot more information, but there are websites specialized that talk about geoengineering, chemtrails, cloud seeding, sun blocking, and so forth. And these things are occurring on a very large scale all around the world. Forests and Amazons are completely dying. They're dying out. Animals, plants, rivers, creeks, oceans, fish, birds in the sky. People are breathing this junk in every day. It's altering the functionality of our organs as well as our nervous system. It's altering our DNA. It is really also toxifying, or another term, calcifying, our pineal gland, the eye of everything, the beacon of it all. And we see a lot of the aluminum in the patients of Alzheimer's. There's asthma problems, respiratory conditions, sore throats, flus, colds, chronic fatigue syndrome symptoms, candida, sleeping issues, or sleeping pattern issues, even infertility. Naming conditions and naming sicknesses, I can go all day, but aluminum is the main factor in Alzheimer's, like I said. Aluminum gets into the neurons and synapses of nerve endings and just shortens them out. It's like fries them out. It's like turning off a switch on our wall at home. Yes, barium, strontium, aluminum destroys our immune system. It weakens it. It robs it of everything God gave us. The power itself makes it very weak, and it makes it very depressing. It depresses it. There are at least 150 different patents on geoengineering in the United States alone. There's got to be 40 or 50 in Canada the last time I researched. And I can just imagine for the rest of the world. An incidence of mass amount of birds falling from the sky, so tens of thousands of birds falling from the sky on the same day in 35 different cities around the world. Is that a coincidence? Did the lightning hit them all at the same time? Did the snow maybe freeze them in the air? I don't think so. Birds are being dropped from the sky because of geoengineering agendas and methods and tactics, things that go wrong. As far as our brain and heart's concerned, if there's a phenomenal doctor that's put out a lot of different information in relation to human body, chemtrails, and the geoengineering, and he clearly, along with hundreds of other doctors, and pilots and military personnel and army personnel and bioscientists. I mean, I have an entire list of every quote of every research that was ever done. I've studied chemtrails for a long time, including studies by the neuromineralogists and doctors. and civilians that are retired from the airports who are able to talk now. So a lot of these little tiny little particles that are within the chemtrails, real toxic chemtrails, are so small, so tiny, so little. So the nanoparticulates are extremely small. And because they're so tiny, they can actually enter our body very easily and go to the lung lining in the bloodstream. And when they leach to the cell receptors, and they linger within the body itself freely. And today we have so many different diseases and problems and sicknesses that are attached to those original symptoms. So we have ALS, we have ADD, we have Alzheimer's, we have autism, increasingly numbers of autism, diabetes, we have obesity. I mean, is this all connected? Is it not connected? Maybe, perhaps, yes, no. I think so. I don't think there's a coincidence. In quantum universe, really, there is no coincidences, particularly when we're dealing with poison being sprayed in the sky. CDC showed that autism numbers since 1975 increased like from 1 in 5,000 to in 2013 being 1 in 50. And now in 2021, the research in Canada here I saw was 1 in 20. Is that also a coincidence? So what are these kids eating? Is what's happening? Bad oranges? Bad ice cream? What, fake milk? I don't think so. Again, they're breathing something in. Is this a coincidence? Cannot be a coincidence. God's not creating this. The universe is not creating this. No. So something is being put in the air. Chemtrails and geoengineering have been debunked and explained by some of the world's most recognized names. Too many names to even count. I'm familiar with a couple dozen of them, but there's hundreds, literally hundreds, from doctors to scientists to crop experts, solar experts, FAA staff, retired civilian staff, climate and geoengineering researchers, PhD scientists, authors of phenomenal books, Gaia TV speakers and hosts of their own shows on Gaia TV. Experts such as Regina Meredith and Ken Rohla, David Wilcock, phenomenal author. The guy wrote like 8 books. Scott Stevens, Jay Widener, Robert Felix, Michael Murphy, Dane Wigington, Mark McCandish. Also we have James DeMeo, Nick Begich, one of the top names in the geoengineering research, of course, Rosalind Peterson, Robert Zimmerman, Edward Griffith, Scott Stevens, James Gilliland, which is a friend of mine from Isetti Ranch in Trout Lake, Washington, which is in the United States. He has tremendous amount of information because of the mountain there that's near his ranch. Sharon Schloss, Cliff Capricorn, another YouTuber, really popular YouTuber named Pacific Redwood. So what he does, he examines the weather manipulation across the United States. Another website too, it's called rainengineering.com. Phenomenal pictures and proof and stats and research. One of the greatest websites is geoengineeringwatch.org. And that website has more information than I've ever seen anywhere else. A phone app, a free app that can be downloaded. Flight Radar 24. Documentaries such as What in the World Are They Spraying? And I believe there's 2 volumes, 1 and volume 2. Hundreds of other films, just private film, private footages. And this is all available on the internet and Gaia and YouTube and Facebook and social media sites. And that's the wonderful thing about YouTube. All this information can be shared, but also information on Agriculture Defense Coalition, California, Skywatch, and pretty much every state has one. Private researchers, private filmmakers, they're the geniuses behind exposing the geoengineering agendas. Farmers, they also have tremendous amount of research, tremendous amount of videos of real chemtrails going literally like 7, 8 in a row. And then they would come from a 90-degree angle, do another 7, 8 rows. So what they would do actually was create a grid. And when that expands, blocks out the entire sun. Chemtrails are very real. Geoengineering is obviously very real. Even a 4-year-old can notice that that's not a real cloud. These things are extremely dangerous. They're filled with toxic poison, including aluminum, barium, and strontium. And there are many different documents that are publicly released now, but the best one is the military document currently released. It's available on every search engine. It's called Owning the Weather by 2025. And the primary objective, clearly stated, primary objective is to control the weather. So to control all weather. If they want it to be a Hurricane Sandy again and Katrina and Irma, by the way, all 3 have been created. None were natural. They're going to create more. They want to see rain, they're going to create rain. They want to starve farmers out and give them no rain, they're going to do that too. And this is just a couple clear examples of how this manipulation works, really. But there's so much different evidence of even microwave technology. So microwave technology transmitter would hit numerous areas within the bands of the particular storm. And then when it does that, it hits the actual center of the eye, or the storm is the eye. And it creates just a soup of problems. Patent owned by NASA, I believe, called ICWM, ice nucleation for weather modification, and enables the owners of this particular patent to actually create artificial snow in any quantity that they want, wherever they want, whenever they want. Snow, fake snow, snowstorms, and we've seen that in Texas in 2022. The United States is really notorious for weather manipulation and geoengineering. They're like addicted to it. They are the biggest player in the industry, that's for sure, if we look at other competitors. And they even own HAARP, HAARP, so the Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, I believe, up in Alaska. They created it, they built it for geoengineering purposes. And it was initiated as an ionospheric research program by United States military, defense, and Navy, and the Air Force back in 1992, 1993, approximately at that time. So chemtrail is not some coincidence. These guys know what they're doing. They're flawless at it. They're very good at it. And chemtrails are a very, very effective conductor. By the way, these psychopaths know that, and they're using this microwave technology to actually heat up the atmosphere. They think it's a video game. HAARP is in my opinion, ionospheric heater. Like we have heaters at home, like we have fires to be set in fire pits. These guys are playing God, really. Today we have so much more, but we also have weather modification being traded as a derivative on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and it's been around there since 1996 or 1997. So they're buying and selling weather. These people are making hundreds of billions of dollars, numbers we can't even process in our heads, by playing derivatives on this market. And these evil corporations, whose God is money and greed and selfishness, are making billions of dollars from weather-related, pre-planned and modified and staged disasters, typhoons and snowstorms and rainfalls and so forth, and floods. And Monsanto is certainly a major player in that, and it just so ironically, Monsanto owns the aluminum-resistant seed that no natural or organic farmer would even have anywhere in the world. And also ironically, that's too irony, I mean, define irony, but ironically, Monsanto also owns approximately 82% of all seed stock, all of it. And their main investor, Bill Gates, is a huge investor of geoengineering. When this guy's buying out engineering that has to do with weather modification, he's buying it from the United States government. He's buying it like me going to the store and getting some bread. This guy just throwing money for it. These psychopaths are literally playing the role of the universe and God combined. Their only God is control, narcissism, ego, and money. And there are many, many different videos online showing how chemtrails residues that are analyzed and observed under the microscope, and it shows unexplained almost tiny little living organisms. It would be perceived as a worm, but it's a little organism, moving little organism. But it's alive. So what is that? What is that little thing? There are videos where, as I said earlier, people are making pranks and jokes, and they're grabbing a piece of snow and they're setting it on fire, but the snow is not melting because this snow was created by artificial nucleated snowstorms. And that produced a fake snow with plastics in it. So the snow is burning, but the snow is not melting because it's fake snow. That's geoengineering. There are no current greater global threat to humanity than the geoengineering programs. Not wars, not ISIS, not racism, drugs, weapons, white versus black. These are all distractions. But it is geoengineering, the geoengineering programs, these global programs that are destroying our planet. So fake activists, hoax activists, such as these little European clone girl, Greta Thunberg, she should publicly be yelling at governments about chemtrails and yelling at the governments for geoengineering and polluting the world, weather modification, cloud seeding, so real climate issues. She shouldn't be yelling at SUV drivers. Spiritually speaking, chemtrails are dumbing us down. They're dumbing everybody down. Yes, and our own consciousness is governed by a light, but the light's being blocked in the sky. Color of light changes our consciousness, and light comes into us, into any human, via our eyes and travels to our pineal gland, back geometric center of our brain. So the key to everything, the key to all the wisdom, and the most hidden yet most important part of our brain is the pineal gland. But the pineal gland needs the sun. The pineal is the beacon, the transmitter, the center of our consciousness. But how can we obtain any sun if it's constantly being blocked? And anyone who says chemtrails are fake, they're either lying on purpose or they're really just misinformed. Either one of the two. It cannot be anything else. Those who say that contrails are chemtrails or vice versa, it's the same thing, they just haven't read enough books, that's all. They haven't done enough research, they have not read enough documents that would state that these two things are completely different. And they're purposely ignoring anything that has to do with geoengineering. They can go through a newspaper with 20 different articles, it comes to the geoengineering, they'll just skip that page. So they're just ignorant about it. An old Hopi Indian prophecy says that there will be cobwebs spun back and forth in the sky. And yeah, we have them now, and we've had them for a long time, and they're called chemtrails.